Om Brahmanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Ganganasadrisham Tattvamasyadilaksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshibhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami.
Hello, welcome. Pay very close attention to these teachings. They are from a work of Adi Shankaracharya, Viveka Chudamani, and it is Advaita Vedanta. So these are the teachings that you find in the scriptures. They are according to the scriptures. So pay very attention to these teachings. Listen very carefully to these teachings. Then you should reflect upon them, reflecting a lot upon these teachings, and then meditate upon these teachings so that they may bear fruit in your heart. Moving on to verse 234. If the world is real, let it be perceived when you are in deep sleep. You cannot comprehend anything then. Therefore, it is like a dream. So, if something is real, it is always there. And in deep sleep, everything disappears. Only bliss remains. Nothing intelligible remains there. No world, no manifestations, no mind, nothing. So if it's not there always, it is not real. What appears cannot be real, because if it appears, it has come from somewhere. And what is real, it's always there. The basis is the real thing, and the appearance is only through ignorance. As in the mother pearl, silver appears, so in the Atman appears everything. Though it is ignorance, the basis is the Atman. So Atman is the basis of all, where everything comes from it. All the mirages. Therefore, the Supreme Soul is alone real. One without a second, pure consciousness, without any blemish, quiet, beginningless, endless, beyond all actions, ever blissful itself. And it is always there, so it doesn't appear, nor disappear, nor changes, always pure, always perfect. Dispelling all the distinctions that are created by Maya, it ever exists. Unchangeable, without parts, not to be measured, without form, without name, endless, self-conscious and manifest alone. There's no other. It is totality. So dispelling all distinctions that are created by Maya, all changes, all fluctuations, everything that comes and goes, by dispelling that, only that which never changes, has no beginning, no end, no parts, only that will remain. Beyond these three, knower, known, and knowledge, endless, where there is no change at all, one consciousness exists, the Supreme. The sages alone know such Atman. And that is beyond these three. the knower, that which is known, and the knowing itself. So all these pertain to the dream, not to reality itself. That which cannot be avoided, better than all, beyond the conception of the mind and words, that which cannot be defined, perfect, know that as thy own self. Know that supreme reality as your real identity. These two, thou and that, become one when the thou has been purified according to the dictates of the scriptures. Discrimination, renunciation. What is inconsistency? What inconsistency do you speak of? That is like a great mountain, and thou like an atom. If compared, one is like a glowworm, the other like the sun. Thou is so finite, and what you call that is infinite. How can there be oneness? Though they are of very different natures, yet in their proper essence they are equal. What difference do you see is only the upadi, the distinction, the body, the superimposition or qualification. The upadi of God is Maya, which is the cause of Mahat, the universal mind, and its works. And the upadi of the Jiva, the incarnated soul, is the 5 sheets and their works. Both are one substance. This substance plus Maya and Mahat is God. And the same substance plus the 5 sheets is the Jiva. Same substance, different sheets, different coverings. One make up God, other makes up the individual. Same substance. Take away the upadis, the sheets, the coverings of both, and you will have what is left is the same thing, that. One man on the throne is a king. Again, the same man with a shield in hand is a warrior. And if you take away both the throne and the shield, he is neither king nor warrior. The sheets give the distinctions. He is still a man. He is the same. But the Supreme Soul is free from all upadis. That which is beyond the upadis is untouched by them. It is free from them. Therefore, by the method of the Shruti, one should do away with upadis. By the discrimination, one should renounce the upadis, recognizing them and renouncing them. The Shruti says, not this, neti neti, because they are attributes and therefore not real. If they have attributes, whatever has attributes is not real. And therefore not real. As you see the snake in a rope, and as you see things in a dream, both unreal, therefore practice this, not this, not this. So, you may say that the snake exists in the rope, if you are seeing it, but it doesn't really. So, or as in a dream, you take it as for real, but as we have seen, it is the same as what you call reality. But this is a point which is making here. Whatever has attributes, you should renounce it and say, it's neti neti, not this, is an attitude towards everything which has attributes, characteristics, observable through the senses or through the mind. Is not this, only that void has to remain, always. They are not real, so by wise meditations, doing away with the upadis, should be known that thing which is common to both. So they are not real, the upadis are not real, the layers, the sheets, the bodies, they are not real. So by wise meditations, meditation which is prescribed by the scriptures or by the awakened one. When we say, this man is that same Devadatta whom I have previously met, we establish a person's identity by disregarding those attributes superimposed upon him by the circumstances of our former meeting. So, if you meet someone after years of not seeing it, you may remember that person and you will attribute that person to the one that you met previously, even though, or disregarding or despite the changes that happened to that person through the years. All kinds of changes happen to people with age, but still it is attributed to the same person you've met before. So there you are disregarding those changes. So in the same way, when we consider the scriptural teaching, that art thou, we must disregard those attributes with which have been superimposed upon that and thou. So in the same way of that man, this body, this mind, only appears because it has been superimposed. So disregard these superimpositions and focus on that. The subject of that and this Atman is one, because they are the same. That thou art. Hundreds of great words, scriptural texts, prove that the Jiva is one with Brahman. Giving up this unreal notion, what you have taken as your own self. Take instead that which is real, self-evident. Beyond all argumentation, I am Brahman. By this pure thought, know thy own self, which is indivisible consciousness. So disregarding these upadis, the bodies, the manifestations, the sheets, and taking that which is real, self-evident, because it is self-luminous, self-existent. Nothing can attest for his veracity. By this pure thought, I am Brahman, and being fixed on it, know thy own self, which is indivisible consciousness. As a pitcher and other things made of earth are nothing but earth, likewise all this is from the Atman, the real. Therefore everything is real. Thou art that, quiet, free from blemish, one Brahman alone, the Supreme. As there is no other than Atman, the only real thing, therefore thou art that, quiet, pure, one without a second, the Supreme. As the places and things that you see in a dream are unreal, so it is this wakeful state, same nature. There is no difference between them, waking and dream. As in dream the mind creates, so Maya creates everything. This body, senses, prana, ego, everything is unreal. So thou art that, quiet, pure, one without a second, the Supreme. So, when you understand that, to experience that which you call a dream, first you must have gotten out of it to call it a dream. Because when you're there, it is completely real. Absolutely no difference from that which you call real previously. It's complicated to speak this, because wherever you find yourself, wherever that body finds itself, it takes it as real and the rest as real. So it is more or less always awakened state for you. Dream state and wake state, the differentiation is the drastic changes in the properties, in the laws of it. So the dream, you tend to see it as different in terms of time and the kinds of stories. It just disappears. It has no logic. You don't have time to give logic to it. But this, what you call the awakened state, you tend to attribute a logic to it, a continuing, but it's the same. It started in the middle of whatever. It didn't start in the beginning. And it will not end in the end like the dream doesn't end in the end. You see that things are continuing and you just, poof, same as death. Nobody goes to a halt of their life and say, well, the majority doesn't do this, and says, okay, so now I will die, and everything was finished, nice, clean. No, it just drops, and that's it. There's no specific moment, oh, this has ended. So life ended, finished, nothing else to do. It's like a dream. And when you go to that dream that you call a dream, a whole universe was created. A body, a universe where that body is, story, things undergoing, happening, everything was created. And this is the same. And then you have dream state, deep sleep state, what's called susupti. Then it's just ananda, nothing else, no world, no body, no existence, but you're still, no existence, yes, you're still there. So they are the same. And what is common to all is you. Not the perception of you, but the existence of you. So Maya creates everything, this body, senses, pranas, and ego, as in a dream. It creates it and then it disappears. The body of a dream doesn't decomposes, it just disappears. That's your experience. And you reappear in another place, another universe. Because of delusion, you may mistake one thing for another, but when you know its real nature, then that nature alone exists. There is nothing else but that. When the dream breaks, the dream universe has vanished. Does it appear when you awake Does it appear when you awake that you are other than yourself? So, okay, so because of delusion, let's hold on to the dream. You may mistake one thing for the other, what you call a dream for what you call reality. But when you know that it is a dream, then that nature alone exists. You don't think of it, is it real? Because you know already it's a dream. And there's nothing else but that. When the dream breaks, the dream universe has vanished. So like when you awaken from the dream, the body you were using there disappears, and so does the universe where that body was. Also, when you go to sleep, when you go to the dream, this body from the physical world, or what you call the physical world, disappears, and so does the universe. That is your experience. And does it appear when you wake that you are another than yourself? It's like whenever you awake, either in Jagrat, Swapna, or Susupti, it's always you. And even in dream, when you have a different body that you're not used to, that notion of you is still there. Despite that you find strange that you're having that body, which is foreign to you. Caste, laws, family, beyond all these, name, form, qualification, defects. Free from all these, beyond time and space, is Brahman. Thou art that. Think of it. Think of that in thyself. So always pick up that little speck of consciousness, of identity. I am, and always take it, I am that, to that reality. That which is beyond all words, and which can be known only by pure understanding, is concretized consciousness. It is beginningless substance, Brahman. Know that as thy own self. Only by pure understanding. Pure understanding refers to absence of tamas and rajas in the intellect, just sattvic intellect. Untouched by these conditions of decay, death, hunger, thirst, grief, and illusion, which can be thought of by yogis alone, from whom the senses cannot know, and the intellect cannot comprehend, that glorious one Brahman, think of him within thy own self, as thyself thou art that. So these are the conditions that pertain to the body and the mind: decay, death, hunger, thirst, grief, and delusion, which can be thought of by yogis alone. Only those who are controlled, who have controlled their minds, controlled their bodies, overcome these impulses. Only a yogi can become untouched by these conditions. Only they can know that glorious one, Brahman. The world which is produced from ignorance remains based on that Brahman, who is the basis of all. The self-existence different from the manifested and unmanifested, that which lies latent and still will manifest. Without parts, incomparable, know him as thyself, thou art that. So this world which is appearing, as in when you get out the dream and you go to what you call wake-up state, first you appear, then the perception of the body and the universe. Same, first then all disappears and you awaken to another dream. And same, a body appears, you appear first, then the perception of a body, of an individual, and a whole universe, with others also included there. And all of this comes from Brahman, goes back to Brahman, like the mirage of the water in the desert and like the snake in the rope. Birth, increase, which is growth, transformation, decay, disease, and decease, free from all of this, and who is the cause of creation, of its destruction? Thou art that. Think of this as thy own self. So always think of that which is beyond all modifications, in whom all difference cease, like a vast sheet of water without any waves, where the wave comes out and then collapses again. Ever free, undivided, one Brahman, thou art that. Think of this as thy own self. Not more about the waves, but that infinite vast sheet of water. Who is one the cause of many, but who has no cause, and is separated from cause and effect, self-existent, Brahman, thou art that. Think this as thy own self. So the self is the cause of all, the background, the substratum, but is in itself causeless. Nothing precedes it. And think of that, not on the manifestations, but think of that as thy own self, as your real I. Free from all change, without any doubt, which is different from destructible or indestructible, is beyond that. The supreme, ever blissful Brahman, thou art that. Think this as thy own self. Free from all change, untouched by change. Untouched is your sense of I, your identity. Bodies follow their course. Modifications continue to happen in them. But your sense of identity is that which is untouched. And this is where you tune with your identity. But that's a little bit different of what is here. Because here it's for you to direct your attention to that supreme self, But it's more or less the same, but let us follow this. That which manifests in different things by name and form, and yet remains in its own pristine glory, like gold in different ornaments, always Brahman. Thou art that. Think this in thy own self. So here is a comparison with the gold that can be shaped in many forms, but it is still gold. So that which is manifesting apparently in different things which are different by name and form, it is always that, unchanged, because it is the manifestation of the snake in the rope. It's not really real. You're seeing it, but it has no substance. To whom there is no superior, the superior of all, one blissfulness, truth, knowledge and bliss, eternal and immortal, that is Brahman. Thou art that. Think of this as thy own self. So these are more or less the qualities of the self, which is Sat Chit Ananda, truth, knowledge, and bliss. That is infinite and eternal. That is your real self. After all these that have been said, he who sees within his own self according to the dictates of the scriptures and becomes free from all doubts, knows this Atman as definitely as water in his hand. So he who sees within himself, according to the dictates of the scriptures, by discrimination and renunciation, and becomes free from all doubts, because he has used the knowledge of the scriptures, his sharp mind, to cast away all that which is non-self. He becomes free from all doubts, and then he knows the Atman as water in the hand, intimately. Only the consciousness, free from all doubts, knows that as the king amongst the soldiers, taking your stand in the self always, reduce everything to the Atman. And at all times you are taken upon, challenged, persuaded, bullied, seduced into be the body, to believe that you are the body, to act accordingly with that belief. So take stand in the self alone. Don't act through the body with the conviction of its reality. In the cave of the heart, separated from the manifest and in manifest, Brahman exists, the truth supreme, the one, he who knows Brahman within his own soul and abides in him. For him there is no entering a body again, rebirth. So it's not just tapping into Brahman by the complete abstraction of everything. It is to abide in that. Not just as a glimpse, oh, I've seen it and it's done. No, you need to abide continuously in that Brahman so that everything else gets properly dissolved. Even after knowing that substance, the Atman, powerful desire which is beginningless in the form of I am the doer and enjoyer, which is the cause of this world, does not die. Yes. It remains there. What can be done with that? You must do away with that desire carefully, because that is freedom, the lessening of desire. That should be done even after realization. So, even after realization, the desire remains in the body. And it may come and take you and seduce you, again, to engross yourself and to even to forget that direct experience. So, even after that realization, you need to cut the desire away. The idea of me and mine remains in the body. It is part of the body. It's its own program. And in other things that are non-self, all the other sheets. This is called adhyas and should be given up by the sage by identifying himself with Brahman. So, even after the contemplation of Brahman, the direct experience, by holding on to it, this idea of me and mine, and all these things that are the non-self, they start to dissolve and lose their power. But it's still there. So always transferring your identification to Brahman alone. Knowing the real self, which is the witness of the intellect and its actions. By this thought, I am that. Conquer the false idea of I am in the non-self. So by knowing, by a direct experience of this self, you need to conquer this false idea, because when you repeat, I am that, I am that, I am that, it's like you're elevating this I am, which is conditioned to the body, to that reality. But there's a chance also of this I am to psychologically enlarge itself to that dimension, instead of becoming a delusion. A small delusion becomes a huge delusion, but the same illusion. So you, by knowing your real self, then hold on to that and cut this idea, this I am, from the body. First give up following the world, then following the body, and then following the scriptures. In that way, do away with your ignorance of identifying the self with the non-self. I will speak of this in the next video.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.